Bullhorns blaring outside homes as early as 7 a.m. Demonstrators banging drums on residential streets, and some say even scaring young children. After months of reporting by WUSA 9, D.C. Council has now banned the early morning and late night protests after neighbors complained what was happening went far beyond freedom of speech. Our chief investigative reporter Eric Flack first showed us what was happening back in the fall. And Flack, you've stayed on this issue for us, and a lot of the neighbors you profiled are actually breathing a sigh of relief tonight.
Yeah, they are, Simone, but the issue certainly sparked debate within D.C. Council about balancing free speech with residential peace. In D.C.'s Kalorama neighborhood, it was protesters blaring megaphones starting at 7 a.m. outside the Chinese ambassador's residence, right next to a park and dozens of family homes. In the typically quiet Barnaby Woods neighborhood in Northwest, pro-Palestinian protesters bang drums and chant loudly first thing in the morning and late at night outside the home of a State Department spokesperson. After months of community complaints first brought to light by a WUSA 9 investigation, D.C. Council has now made permanent restrictions on residential protests like those, passing the Residential Tranquility Act Tuesday.
This is a really important problem and challenge. We had situations where houses were targeted early in the morning, a lot of noise, a lot of threatening, menacing behavior, including when children were getting ready to go to school.
The legislation prohibits sound amplifying devices like megaphones in residential areas before 9 a.m. and after 7 p.m. D.C. Council approved an emergency temporary ban on the residential overnight protests after WUSA 9's initial reporting.
We have had this law in place since October, which gives us 8 months of data to see how it has worked. And there have been 0 arrests because the police need this tool to say, hey, everybody, time to disperse, time to move on.
The law carries penalties of up to 90 days in jail and fines for repeated violations. And that concerns council members Brianne Nadeau and Zachary Parker, who both voted against the bill.
I've been against this proposal when it was an emergency. I'm against it now. At a time when we should all be concerned about attacks on free speech. I just worry that this moves us in the wrong direction.
Regular daytime demonstrations remain unaffected by these new regulations, even in neighborhoods. The president of the Sheridan Kalorama Neighborhood Council told me just this afternoon, we hope this legislation strikes the right balance between the legitimate right of people to protest and the right of residents to just enjoy their homes. Simone?
Where freedom of speech exists in that realm. Flack, you've done a good job kind of walking us through all of that. Thank you.